Our thanks to Matt Gutman. I'm joined now by the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, right here in the studio. Speaker Johnson, thank you for joining us.
Glad to be with you. Thanks.
So let's start with the No Kings rallies. You called these Hate America rallies. What do you mean by that?
Well, that collection of folks that I listed were certainly part of it. We congratulate them on a apparently violent free speech exercise. I was a First Amendment lawyer for 20 years. We defend that right. But the irony of the message is pretty clear for everyone. If President Trump was a king, the government would be open right now. If President Trump was a king, they would not have been able to engage in that free speech exercise out on the mall, by the way, which was open because President Trump hasn't closed it. In the last shutdown, 2013 era, President Obama closed the National Mall. It closed all the national parks, didn't allow people to engage in all this. So, I mean, they needed a stunt. They needed a show. Chuck Schumer needs cover right now. He's closed the government down because he needs political cover, and this was a part of it.
We'll get to the shutdown, but just on this notion that these are Hate America rallies, and you not only talked about anarchists, Antifa advocates, pro-Hamas wing, and you said this is the modern Democratic Party. But I remember not that long ago what you said after the murder of Charlie Kirk, when you said that we should view fellow Americans not as our enemies, but as our fellow countrymen.
Yeah, I've never called anybody an enemy, but we call out...
Hate America rally or, Antifa, pro-Hamas, those are enemies.
Well, there were a lot of hateful messages yesterday. I mean, we have video and photos of pretty violent rhetoric, calling out the president, saying fascists must die and all the rest. I mean, I don't think that's loving speech. I don't think that's friendly speech. And I don't think it's pro-American to say those kinds of things. So it's not about the people. It's about the message. It's about the ideology. And I will stand here every Sunday and talk with you about the dangers of Marxism and socialism and how it's led to the literal death of tens of millions of people in the 20th century alone. It is a dangerous ideology, and it is anti-American. It goes against everything that we stand for.
But you're not saying that this is all of the Democratic Party. It's not all of the people that were out there. I mean, it kind of reminds me of Hillary Clinton referred to Trump supporters, or half of them, as the basket of deplorables.
I've never said that. I never said it was the whole Democratic Party. But you and I have to acknowledge the reality. Wait a minute.
So this is the modern Democratic Party.
It is, because look at the evidence. Look at what's happening in New York. They're about to elect an open socialist Marxist as the mayor of America's largest city. There's a rise of Marxism in the Democratic Party. It's an objective fact, and no one can deny it. We lament that. We decry it. We're trying to call it out because I want to make sure the next generation of Americans understands that is a dangerous road to go down. That's part of our calling. I think part of our responsibility as elected servants of the people.
So let's get to the shutdown. You've blamed the Democrats, and to be clear, you did pass a so-called clear...
Not so-called, totally clean.
Keep the government funded for 7 months. They refused to vote for that, most of them, because they want to hold out for the Obamacare subsidies.
Well, no, we filed a clean CR, 24 pages in length, keep the lights on. They filed a dirty CR. What's in it? They want to reinstate free health care paid for by taxpayers to illegal aliens. That's $200 billion as part of it. They want to give money back to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. They want to take $500 million from rural hospitals, and they want to engage in all sorts of spending on foreign projects around the globe. That is actually on paper. That's their kind of proposal. We can't do that.
Okay, so the Democrats did not vote for the clean funding bill. They have chosen to shut the government down to fight for the health care and the other items you mentioned. But let me ask you, why, as this is going on, why is the House not in session?
Well, first of all, we're fighting for health care as well, not just in word, but in deed. We put it in the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, real reforms to Medicaid to make it work better, to preserve the program, because we had illegal aliens receiving benefits. We had young, able-bodied men who were not working. They don't have dependents. They were riding the wagon. We cleaned that up in our bill. In their counterproposal, what Chuck Schumer is arguing for is he wants to reverse those reforms, which would be a terrible policy decision for the people.
But I'm actually asking a different question. So why is the House not in session? I mean, I covered day-to-day those previous shutdowns, including the one you mentioned in 2013. I recall there were House hearings during that shutdown about how President Obama was handling the shutdown.
Yeah.
Why is the House not in session as this is?
The House did its job. Exactly a month ago today, on September 19th, we passed the clean resolution. The continuing resolution would keep the lights on, keep the government working for the people. By the way, keep Border Patrol agents paid, our troops paid, air traffic controllers, all the rest, all the services that go to veterans and young women who need nutrition assistance for their infants. The Democrats, every single one of them, have now voted 11 times, except for 3 Democrats in the Senate. They voted 11 times to shut down the government and cease and halt all of those services and programs.
But I'm still not understanding, why is the House not in session? You passed a 7-week temporary funding bill. Is that the entirety of the Republican agenda?
No, it is not. No, it is not. But I refuse to allow us to come back and engage in anything until the government's reopened, when the Democrats do the right thing for the people. They're playing politics, and we have to use every ounce of leverage we have to make sure they do the right thing. They have literally chosen, this is a true statement, you think about it, look at their votes and their actions. They have chosen restoring benefits by taxpayers to illegal aliens over paying our troops and our Border Patrol agents and TSA and all the rest. It's unconscionable. It's never been done before.
As you know, neither Medicaid nor the Obamacare subsidies can go to undocumented.
You know why? Because we got it signed into law July 4th, and they're trying to repeal it, Jonathan. That's the whole point. But
you were doing this 7-week extension to give you time to pass funding for the rest of the year.
That's right.
Why aren't you working on that now?
We are working on that. We don't have to be on the House floor to do it. Our appropriators are working around the clock. They have been. They're negotiating not just in our party, but across the aisle to get the next batch of appropriations bills ready to go. It's a great point. All we did was a simple CR. There's not a single Republican policy priority on the CR.
But there are no committee hearings on these budget bills. There are no votes on these budget bills.
Very important. Very important. The House has already passed the 12 appropriations bills through committee. They don't need a committee hearing to do that. We need to get them off the floor. But it's been stopped by the Democrats in the Senate. And why? Because Chuck Schumer is afraid that one of these Marxists is going to run against him in his next reelect, and he has to get political cover. When he did the right thing in March, and he voted for the nearly identical CR, he took massive heat from the far left. Many of the groups that were out there protesting yesterday, he can't face them again. This is plainly and simply a selfish decision on his part.
There's also no oversight going on, no oversight hearings. I want to ask
there is oversight going on.
Well, there are no committee hearings going on. There's
Jonathan, just 2 days ago on Friday, the House Oversight Committee released the 3rd batch of Epstein files, the documents from the Epstein estate that includes, by the way, his personal phone logs, his travel logs, his financial documents, and even his daily calendar. That stuff is happening right now. We don't need to be on the House floor to do that.
So Steve Bannon likened the Congress to the Russian Duma, which, of course, is just a rubber stamp for Vladimir Putin. How do you respond to that?
I think this is an absurd notion. We have unified government. The American people put Republicans in charge of the White House, the Senate, and the House. We are delivering for the people. You can make an argument. The first 9 months of this Congress and this administration were the most successful, productive in history. Think of it. Think of the split screen, what's happening right now. President Trump and Republicans reduced taxes, reduced regulations to get the economy going again, ending the crime crisis, ended the border crisis. He's resolving wars and conflicts around the globe. What have Democrats done? They shut the government down.
But oversight, I mean, I never really hear you raise critical questions of anything that President Trump is doing. Do you, at least in private, raise issues with
Yes, this is what unified government looks like. The president and I
unified government
sometimes
doesn't mean you're all in
lockstep.
Sometimes, Congress is still a check on the executive branch.
Congress is more than a check on the executive branch. We're the Article I body in the Constitution.
Yeah.
We have a preeminent responsibility, and I take that seriously. A lifelong constitutional attorney and somebody who's been a jealous advocate of it. The president and I talked all the time about policies and decisions and all of that. We do that behind closed doors because that's what party leaders do when you're in the same party. It's called unified government. The reason we've been so productive is because we do that so well, and we're delivering for the American people.
When are you going to swear in Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva?
As soon as we get back to legislative session, when Chuck Schumer allows us to turn the lights back on.
Why haven't you done it already?
Because this is the way the institution works. I'm following the Pelosi precedent, by the way, when my dear friend from Louisiana, Julia Letlow, was elected to fill the seat of her deceased husband because of COVID. Nancy Pelosi took 25 days to swear her in. By the way,
are you saying? Let me stop you. Are you saying that Nancy Pelosi refused to swear her in earlier?
No, I'm saying that's my very point. This is the normal process. Because
my understanding is that was the date that actually the representative-elect Letlow at the time requested. She had obviously her.
Okay, here's some more examples. Okay.
No, but wait a minute. You mentioned the Pelosi precedent, but Pelosi didn't delay that.
Let me give you more of the Pelosi precedent. Okay.
And what about the Johnson precedent? Because you swore in 2 Republicans the day after their election.
I'm happy to answer. Pelosi precedent. Pat Ryan, Joe Simplinsky. They were elected during an August recess. So 21 days later, when the House returned to regular legislative session, they were administered the oath. That's what we're doing. We're not in session right now. Rep. Grijalva was elected after the House was out of session. As soon as we return to legislative session, as soon as the Democrats decide to turn the lights back on so we can all get back here, I will administer the oath on the first day.
You could swear her in tomorrow, right? I mean,
no, not tomorrow. No, we couldn't. We wouldn't. There was an exception for 2 Floridians earlier in this Congress, but the reason was they were duly elected, they had a date set, they flew in all their friends and family, and the House went out of session.
So if she flies in friends and family, then
we don't have a date set. She was elected after.
Okay. Let me ask you about the president's pardon of George Santos. What do you make of that?
The president has the right under the Constitution for pardon and commutation, of course. We believe in redemption. This is a personal belief of mine, and I hope Mr. Santos makes the most of his second chance. I mean,
but how about the fact that the president, in issuing the pardon, or it's clemency, the clemency, he said at least Santos had the courage, conviction, and intelligence to always vote Republican. I looked through this. There have now, I think we have a list of them, 10 former Republican members of Congress who the president has either pardoned or issued clemency for. 10.
Okay, you want to talk about what Joe Biden did with that power?
No,
he pardoned his own family. The only thing he signed, by the way, with his own pen, everything else is auto pen.
Yeah,
but categories of hardened criminals that they just released from prison. At least President Trump is fully transparent. He goes out and explains his rationale. Is it okay for him to say that
essentially I'm pardoning somebody because they always had the courage?
That's not the reason he pardoned.
Conviction and intelligence to always vote Republican.
That's one snippet of what he said among many things about George Santos.
But should that be a factor in pardoning somebody that they vote Republican?
I don't think it was.
Clemency?
No, I don't think it was. I just think he's talking about this individual and his past, and at least he's open and transparent about it. Joe Biden never told us anything, and frankly, we're not even sure he knew who he's pardoning on any of those things.
One of the things that drove a lot of the people out protesting yesterday was what's happening in terms of the mass deportations. I want to play something for you that Joe Rogan recently said about how this is being undertaken. Take a listen.
The way it looks is horrific. When you're just arresting people in front of their kids and just normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years, that everybody who has a heart can't get along with that.
Do you worry that these ICE raids are going too far, or could go too far?
I think everybody is aware of the optics, but I do believe in the rule of law, and I believe the American people were alarmed that the border was wide open for 4 years, and by many estimates, as many as 20 million illegal aliens got into the country, many of them hardened, dangerous criminals from
other countries. Seeing people that have been in the country 20 years or more, that have families, that have American citizens as children, as spouses, that are facing, these pretty rough deportations.
Yeah, and no one takes any pleasure in that at all. What ICE has prioritized is the dangerous, hardened criminals first, and there's probably a few million of those, okay? So they've been trying to round them up and send them back home with great success. And by the way, the border is totally sealed now. Almost zero illegal crossings over the last 4 months, almost zero, which proves again the point that President Biden could have done that at any time. He did not want to use that authority. They wanted the wide open border. So now we all have to deal with the fallout of that. With tens of millions of illegals into the country, ICE has a very difficult job, a very difficult task, and they need to be efficacious and efficient in the way they do it, but they have to ensure that we have the rule of law. If you don't have a sovereign border, you don't have a sovereign country.
We're out of time, but I just have to ask you what's happened at the Pentagon. Do you have a sense for why the Secretary of Defense seems to be afraid to interact with journalists who cover him?
I reject the premise. There's nothing. Fear is not part of the Secretary of War's makeup.
The guy's only had 2 briefings since he became Secretary of Defense.
He's very transparent.
And they've basically forced the Pentagon press out of the building unless they would agree to sign a pledge that would make it impossible to be an independent journalist.
I can't remember, and I don't think you can either, a Secretary of Defense who has been so transparent, out in the open, talking about priorities, principles.
Oh, I can. I covered the building, and I traveled around the world with Secretaries of Defense. I interviewed them. I questioned them in the briefing room. Other reporters did as well.
But did all those secretaries come out and do public speeches as often as Hegseth does, to be everywhere all the time among the troops?
But answering questions.
He's restoring.
And of course, you guys haven't brought him up to ask about what's happening in Venezuela.
We're not in session because Chuck Schumer shut the government down, okay? We have a lot of things to do, but I will tell you this about the Secretary of War. We are winning. We are restoring peace through strength. That's one of our core principles.
Don't you have questions for him about Venezuela?
What about it?
Don't you have questions for him about what's happening in Venezuela? We have this buildup around Venezuela. We have the targeting of these boats. I mean, you must at least have questions about this. I know we have questions.
You have drug cartels bringing in fentanyl in boatloads of it that would kill potentially hundreds of thousands of Americans. What we're doing is restoring...
You have no questions about how they're doing?
No, I believe in peace through strength. I think that the president and the commander-in-chief is in charge of ensuring national security and the safety of the American people. And I think most common-sense Americans look at that and say, thank goodness. You take out one boat full of fentanyl, you save hundreds of thousands of American lives. It was the leading cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 49 during the Biden administration. We are fixing that, and that's why the American people put a strong commander-in-chief back in the office.
All right, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, thanks a lot for being here with us this morning.
Good to see you.